Hello everyone, welcome to my DCS World War II update for May of 2019. It has been a very busy month for World War II updates, much busier than the last few months, so let's get stuck into it. Let's start off with the big one, and this was the release of the Polikarpov I-16 as a full fidelity module right at the start of the month. I had a chance to look at this module when it first came out, and I did put up a little video of my initial impressions. The aircraft is a mid-30s / late 30s Russian open cockpit fighter. It's a pretty fun module to fly, and I understand that the team that has developed this Octopus G is very small indeed, and may even comprise of a single person who apparently started working on this module as a mod and then turned it into a full fidelity official module over time. I did also spend some time flying aerobatics in this aircraft, just learning a little bit about it with a squad mate. We are still contemplating whether or not we put together a little aerobatics team for this aircraft, but it's pretty fun, and despite a couple of crashes, we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. On May the 11th, we had the chance to see a couple more screenshots of the F4U Corsair development. These were posted by Leatherneck Simulations on their Facebook, and unfortunately the screenshots are pretty low resolution. They don't really give us much information at all. A couple of the Corsairs in formation next to a B-17 flying over the sea, and then a couple of closer up B-17s with the Corsairs in the background. But as I said, very low resolution images these that I saw, so they don't look particularly tasty, unfortunately. Now we can move on to one of the big newses in May 2019 for DCS World War II, and that is a progress update on the damage model. This update was posted by 9line on the Weekend News publication for the 3rd of May. This little post included a wonderful screenshot, which is in big high resolution, so you can zoom right in, and the screenshot has a log showing damage occurring to a Bf-109K. And I want to just talk through what that log shows, and that gives us quite a good understanding of the detail that is going into the updated damage model. Looking at the very first row in this log detail, we can see that the damage model provides for concussion or blast damage. And so the very first line appears to show a section of wing on the outer left wing being damaged by 0.369 kg, or just over 350 grams of TNT. So this is an explosive blast near the aircraft that has caused concussion damage to a specific part. I'm guessing this is from a flak or cannon round exploding near the airplane. Then the following lines are all hits, and I don't see any specific ammunition mentioned there, and it looks like these hits are from pieces of shrapnel, because in brackets next to the hit are all various different measurements. The top one being 3.27, then 3.02, then 2.48, etc., etc. At first glance, I thought these were caliber measurements, but then I realized they're all different. So what I'm thinking these are is pieces of shrapnel that have come from that initial concussion blast. So we have concussion and blast damage, followed by penetration damage from shrapnel. And we can talk down then on the right-hand side of these to see the kinds of damage that occur. So we get an indication of the approximate location of the damage. So the first one says there's a nose, center, or front. And then we go into further detail about the specific parts within that region of the airplane that may have taken damage. And then we have the outcome of that damage. So looking at row 5, we have fuselage left that has been damaged at the armor point, and the armor is steel, and then we see stopped. And I am thinking that that means that part is no longer functioning. The next row down, we've got fuselage left, and this is at the fuel tank, and that is an aluminium part, and that has also stopped. So I'm guessing that that part then is no longer functioning. I guess for the sake of armor, if the armor is no longer functioning, then subsequent hits would penetrate through. For other parts, let's take the fuel tank, for example, that fuel tank has now stopped. And I'm guessing that means the fuel tank is no longer able to supply fuel, perhaps. There are other instances where damage occurs and we see that the result is exited object. Now, I'm not sure if that means that the projectile has exited or whether that means the aircraft part has exited the plane. So it's a little unclear what's going on there. Suffice to say that we have quite a lot of permutations of various things that can occur. Damage may be caused by concussion from a nearby blast. Damage may also be caused by penetration. There are differences in the type of penetration that occurs, and there are also different outcomes depending on the previous variables. So this does look like to be a pretty detailed damage model that is certainly light years above what we've seen in the past with DCS. I'm very, very much looking forward to when this is going to be released. The question is, when will it be released? And I think we have the answer to that question as well. It looks like the damage model will be released at the same time as the Focke-Wulf 190 A8 Anton. The reason I believe that is because the Anton is due to come out on June the 5th, and the Anton will be released with the new damage model. Let's move on then to the Focke-Wulf 190 A8 Anton. The Focke-Wulf 190 A8 is due out on June the 5th. The module is now available for pre-purchase. We have a series of screenshots available to look at this airplane, plus a fantastic little trailer, which I have playing in the background now. Now, a friend of mine, Dietrich, from the 17. Fliegerkorps, pointed me towards a post from the 10th of October 2018, where Eagle Dynamics actually identified the specific 190 which they are using as their model for DCS. And this is an aircraft which was flown by Lieutenant Hans Dortenmann of the Zweite Jagdgeschwader 54. This aircraft was operational in France in June 1944. Dietrich had a little look at this machine and he noticed that the centerline was mounted with a drop tank, suggesting that the centerline mounting we see in the A8 trailer, which we are looking at now, will also be capable of having a drop tank. The subject of bombs for this aircraft is apparently being argued around and remains a little vague. We are yet to find out exactly what configuration of weapons then this aircraft will have on release day on June the 5th. However, it looks like we can expect at least a drop tank down the center line. Thanks, Dietrich, for that little tip. The A8 is currently on sale for $39.99 US in early access. I can tell you that we will be seeing quite a few of these emerging online as of June 5, and in particular the Storm of War server, which I operate, will replace the Doras with the Anton as soon as we can do so, because the Anton is a much better cohort aircraft for the others available, and the Normandy map. We also saw a reorganization of the World War II section of the official Eagle Dynamics forums. And of note in particular is the renaming of a section to Western Europe 1944-1945. This seems to me to suggest a consolidation of DCS's working efforts. Will we see another forum section looking at a second part of the World War II theatres? Possibly, and there is some speculation around a new map, which we will come to later. But it certainly seems like Eagle Dynamics have done some reorganization of the forums during this month in order to perhaps reflect a reorganization of their own internal efforts. Once again, that's a little speculative on my behalf, but I'm not the first person who has noticed this. On a separate note, a slight disappointment during May was the exclusion of any mention of Normandy from the proposed VR optimization changes, which a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. WAGS has suggested that any updates to the Normandy map would be the responsibility of Ugra Media, who created the map, and there is no commitment from Eagle Dynamics that that will occur. So my gut feeling is that we will not see VR optimization in Normandy on the Normandy map. It's a bit disappointing, and I have expressed my feelings to that effect on the forum, as have others. However, we are not 100% sure that the VR optimization will not occur on Normandy. It just seems very likely that it won't. In the weekend newsletter for the 31st of May, Nineline stated that the World War II Assets Pack will receive a major update this summer. Now, I'm expecting this is going to include a lot of the units that we've seen screenshots of for about the last 8 to 10 months, I think since the last update to the Assets Pack. And today they showed yet another new asset which is proposed, which is the Elephant Heavy Tank Destroyer. There is also mention here that all the Asset Pack armoured vehicles are going to be upgraded with accurate gun sights and controls, which will be implemented into Combined Arms. Those customers who have already purchased Combined Arms and the World War II Assets Pack will notice that some time ago drivability was removed from the World War II assets. So it looks like that is being returned to us now with the accurate gun sights and controls added in for these vehicles. I am hoping, with fingers crossed, that this summer Assets Pack update also includes some of the aircraft AI models that we saw last year, in particular the JU-88 and the DC-3, but I cannot be certain they will be included, but fingers crossed. Now let's move on to the single most speculative item in this video, and this relates to the upcoming / proposed / yet to be revealed free map that Eagle Dynamics are working on. The reason I am including this module map in the video today is because the map will have explicit World War II use. How do I know that? Well, because His Royal Highness Sir Matthew Wagner posted as much on the forums very recently, where he laid out 5 criteria for the choice of map. And criteria number 1 is that the map must be convertible to both modern day and World War II use. So looking at the rest of his criteria, including the first one, I think we can rule out large parts of the globe, and we can be left with some speculative areas about where this map might be. Now, if you like concrete and reliable content for your updates, then I suggest you stop the video now, dust off, and go play elsewhere, because we are about to delve into the disgusting world of speculation. Now, I know that a lot of flight simmers and PC gamers love to roll around in the muddy pigsty that is speculation. It's something I don't tend to do, but I think that we've got some criteria here that can put a boundary around our speculation, which is why I'm going to indulge us, myself and you included, in this little dalliance. Let's play a game. This game doesn't have a name yet. Please suggest one. The game we're going to play is a process of knocking out all the areas of the world where we are 99 to 100% sure that will not be the focus of the new map. And for knocking stuff out, we're going to use the 5 criteria that Wags posted on the forums. We are also going to use a comment that he made on the 22nd of April, where he said that up until that point, no one had correctly guessed the map location. So we are also going to remove areas of the map that were suggested on the forums up until April the 22nd. Let's get going then. We can remove all the existing maps. So that's the Caucasus, that's Normandy, that's the Gulf. We can remove Syria, and we can remove the Falklands. We can also remove NTTR, but we're going to be removing the United States anyway, so we won't do that just yet. Now we can also remove the parts of the map where we absolutely know there was no World War II activity in the air, and I'm talking about aerial combat in this case, because we also know the map must be convertible for World War II. So let's get rid of the Arctic and the Antarctic. We can also get rid of most of Central and Southern Africa, and we can remove everything except for the northern tip of Australia, the Tasman Sea, New Zealand, and the Southern Ocean. We can remove the Eastern Pacific and the western seaboard of the North and South Americas. Hawaii is still in at this point. We can also remove the subcontinent, India and Pakistan, noting that Burma is still included. We can remove the parts of the Soviet Union at that time which were not combat areas, and we can also remove Spain and Portugal and the neutral countries / non-belligerents. Then I'm also going to remove areas of the map where we know that the Axis never extended their air power. So they were involved in the war, but they weren't involved in aerial combat. And that takes care of large parts of the Atlantic Ocean and the Middle East. We're going to get rid of the American mainland just to square that part away. Notice that Alaska is not yet redded out. So we've still got the Southern Atlantic, Indian Ocean, places where we know there was no real aerial combat. There was naval combat, but the aerial combat and land combat did not exist. So we're going to remove those. We're also going to remove the parts of the ocean or the parts of the world where there isn't at least 100 kilometers of land and sea together. That's because it looks like the map is going to include both carrier and land-based operations. So we need places within 100 kilometers of coastline. Right, so we're starting to really knock out large parts of the world now. We're going to get rid of places of the map which are going to be high performance demanding, that is intense jungle areas, so that gets rid of most of Burma, parts of Indonesia, some of the larger islands to the east of the Indian Ocean. And we're also going to remove a few places which people may think of which are also going to be performance intensive, where there are heavy populated areas. The other reason I'm also removing these is because the map is supposed to be World War II / modern compatible, which means we also want to get rid of the very dense, large, high-rise modern cities. So let's get rid of some of those notable ones. Most of Japan disappearing there, and some places like Rome and Istanbul. We can also remove, in line with the sort of carrier suggestion, we can remove the Caspian Sea. Although you could put a carrier there in that ocean, we know that no carrier fleets have ever been deployed there. So that's now gone as well. Now we can start removing those parts of the map which were suggested by players prior to April 22nd. So that removes Hawaii. It removes Alaska. And I wasn't sure about the Aleutian Islands, but I have pulled them out. That removes the Kola Peninsula. It removes Vietnam. It removes Iwo Jima. And it also removes the Korean Peninsula. So that's as far as I've gotten. Basically, we're looking at North Africa, I think, as a strong contender. Possibly the Balkans or Greece. Maybe the Eastern Baltic. And then the Pacific Islands, Solomon's area. My speculative guess is we're going to get somewhere in the Pacific. I think we're going to get a map that's got 4 or 5 islands spaced 20 to 30, 50 kilometers apart maybe, and I'm edging towards something like the Marshalls or the Marianas. So there we have it. That's where I think the map could possibly be. It's actually quite a lot of the Earth, so I don't think this has really helped us very much.